Okay, we are back with the second episode. Welcome to my channel, guys. My name is Dr. Mansa Ray, and this is the Mansa Medic YouTube channel where we talk all things medical career, lifestyle, study, and travel. The aim of the channel is basically to provide information based on my experience to those that are interested in the medical career, whether you're a student or wanting to study medicine, or if you're already a doctor and you're just curious to see what pathways different doctors go down. So in my previous video, I spoke about working in Aberystwyth, and now I'm going to talk about life outside work, outside the hospital, things a bit more general to give you a feel of what it's like to live in the area. And I'll let you know if I regret my decision coming to live in Aberystwyth. So let's get into it. So the first thing I'm going to talk about living in Aberystwyth in Wales is the weather. Listen, I used to think that the UK weather was the same everywhere. It's not. So if you are coming to Wales from England, for example, bear in mind, it is different. Wales is significantly wetter than England. And if I had known this beforehand, it would have been easier to make that transition. I came in July of 2022, and from July up until beginning of September, the weather was actually not bad. So I was thinking, this is how it is. Summer and spring is going to be nice. We had beautiful sunsets and really, really nice weather. September comes and obviously autumn goes, winter goes, thinking, okay, fine, it's expected, it's raining and it's grey all the time, but significantly more rain than I'm used to. So I was thinking, okay, it's just the winter. Spring comes, we're in April. Why is it still raining? Cool. May, why is it still raining? June, oh my gosh. Wales, the weather is horrible. But when the sun did come out, it made everything worthwhile. I really appreciate the surrounding nature. Aberystwyth is close to a lot of natural reserves and walking and cycling pathways that offer amazing views and serene environments where you can go and disconnect. And this is amazing because it provides an amazing work-life balance. If I've had a particularly stressful day at work and the weather is nice, you could just step outside and within a couple of minutes, you're by the beach. So yeah, being in Aberystwyth or Wales in general really exposed me a lot more to the natural environment, and there's a lot less urbanization compared to England, for example. So Aberystwyth is literally in the middle of nowhere. It's on the far west coast of mid Wales in its own isolated region. And in my personal opinion, having a car is a must. Now you can get around with public transport to nearby towns and nearby cities, but they can be quite time consuming and quite expensive. So having a car is a lot more convenient. So Aberystwyth to Swansea by car is about 2 hours and 10 minutes. Train is just over 3 hours. To get to Cardiff, just over 2 hours, well, just under 3 hours. You can get to Birmingham, Manchester, and Liverpool just over 3 hours, and London is almost a 6-hour journey by car, although it's 4 hours, 40 minutes on average. Now you can travel by public transport to nearby towns within Wales, but bear in mind that because it being such a rural and isolated area, trains tend to leave every hour, and the latest departure times tend to be earlier than you would expect. So that's to bear in mind that you need to plan ahead if you do plan to use public transport. Driving, generally, I find it a pleasant experience, but because we're in the countryside, there are a lot of bendy roads and roads that aren't really fit for purpose. If I'm being honest, they're not always well maintained. And what can be very frustrating is if you get a slow driver in front of you and you can't overtake. This can be blood-boilingly frustrating. And I get it, driving safely is priority. But if you're driving 20 in a 50 miles an hour zone, and I think it reflects the attitude of the Welsh people in general, because compared to where I'm used to, in London, people are a lot more relaxed here, a lot more chilled. So I think it reflected in the driving that people don't really care. So one of the things I was worried about coming here from London was lack of resources. They always say when you go to the countryside, you're not really going to have as much entertainment or shops to choose from, and you usually have to go to 1 or 2 places to get your groceries and etc, etc. So there was a fear of me that I wouldn't have enough to get by. But having been here, that's actually not the case. Even though there aren't as many options, there are enough to choose from, and there's just enough to get by. And it's actually taught me that you don't need so many options, you just need enough and you're good. There's no Sainsbury's, there's no Waitrose, there's no Nando's. In London, you get this in abundance. We've got one Tesco supermarket, a Morriston, an M&S Food, and a few local shops here and there. And that's pretty much it. In terms of entertainment, there's a small museum, a small cinema within the town, but that tends to show old films. Not really much going on in terms of entertainment. A few pubs and clubs hereby, but otherwise, it's a pretty simple town. It's taught me how to appreciate a more simpler way of living. It feels good to support those small businesses as they're trying to provide for the community. I have to shout out a few places that have really made an impact. First is Medina. It's a restaurant that serves an amazing menu with locally grown organic ingredients that brings a real flavor and brightness and fullness to the food that you have. Mama Faye's, the only Caribbean place in Aberystwyth, and coming from London, I had high standards when it comes to Caribbean food, because if you're from London, you know there are an abundance of Caribbean places. But Mama Faye's in Aberystwyth, probably one of the, if not the best Caribbean place I've ever been to. And I say that if you ever come to Aberystwyth, challenge me. How do I feel now when it comes to finances? Well, it's no surprise that I find it cheaper in general here. I find it a lot easier to save and manage my money living in Aberystwyth than I would in London. In general, even though the prices for groceries are on average pretty much the same, sometimes it can be a bit more if you want to go for real organic food. It can be a bit more than average, but you kind of see that across the UK anyway. But what I find cheaper is the general lifestyle. For example, in London, I would travel an hour and a half on average to work one way. So we're talking 3 hours of time spent on public transport to get to work. My work here in Aberystwyth is a 10-minute walk. So not only do I save money, I save time as well. There is less money spent on things like parking fines, speeding ticket, congestion charge. Yeah, in general, I find that I actually spend a lot less in Aberystwyth than London, and these savings can accumulate over time, and it makes it a lot easier to manage my money. Now, right now I'm living in a 1-bedroom self-contained flat, and the price I'm paying each month for this is 670 excluding bills. This could probably be in the range of 900 to £1,000, rent and bills all included. I also don't feel worried about crime. I've never felt really worried about the area. I see police driving around maybe once every couple of weeks. I hear sirens a few times. Most of the time they're ambulances. Police sirens rarely happen. So generally it feels like a safe place to live. So what's my verdict? Given that I've now spoken about the pros and cons and my general experience of living in Aberystwyth, would I recommend being here? A slower pace of life, a relaxed atmosphere, driving. I'm pretty sure you've gathered that I would recommend Aberystwyth as a place to live. Now, it depends on the kind of person. If you're into the hustle and bustle, busyness, having lots of options, maybe Aberystwyth isn't the place for you because there aren't much options in terms of entertainment that you would expect to get from a big city. But if you're into the relaxed pace of life, an abundance of natural environments, walking by the beach, having a bit more chill and relaxed time, I would recommend Aberystwyth as a place to live. So far, I've really enjoyed my stay here. I am the kind of person that's a bit more chilled, so this suits my kind of vibe. I do enjoy going to the big cities from time to time, but in general, I like this. I hope you enjoyed. If you made it this far, thank you very, very much. I'm gonna keep producing content consistently. And yeah, just try and grow. So if you enjoyed, please like, share, and subscribe. It really helps the algorithm push this forward, and it really gives me encouragement to produce more videos. So yeah, let's do it, and on to the next topic.